Woo! Good afternoon, good evening. Definitely not a good morning if you're an Aggie fan, but it's a great afternoon, great evening to be a Longhorn. This is your guy, Harish, with the Longhorn Fan Battle Podcast. Of course, on this side, this is my guy, Tim Wayne. Tim Wayne, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Man, there's more drama than a telling the waiver for sure.
Bro, I will tell you what, the last 18 hours. Hell, not even. No. The last 20, a little over 24, 32 hours have been wild. As we all know, David Pierce gets fired yesterday morning. Well, the news spreads that he's let go yesterday morning, and we wish the
Yeah,
best for David Pierce. 9 years. I think some of what happened in his tenure is bad luck. You look at 2020, he probably had the best team in the nation.
yep,
Probably would have won a national championship that year. You look at last year. You go into the super regional against Stanford and believe it was game three, bottom of the ninth inning. You know,
right.
pop up that gets lost in the outfield by your senior shortstop right fielder,
Yeah,
and
that
you
hurt.
lose
That one
that
hurt.
way. That hurt. You get into have an opportunity to get into the College World Series, right?
Right.
That whole debacle happens. The up and down of this season, losing to Texas El Paso, UTGSV, whatever. You lose. Obviously, you get throttled by A&M early in the season.
Right.
You bounce back. You end up doing third in the Big 12, which isn't bad. End up competing, and I think at the end of the day, for Texas and CDC, when you have guys like Vic Schaefer hitting elite eights, dang near every year. When you guys have like guys like Steve Sarkisian, who's only been in here 3 years and has already made the college football playoff, heading
Yep.
into the SEC. When you have guys like uh, the golf coach, they just hired a brand new women's golf coach who just won the national title in
Yeah.
women's golf. And then you see, Mike White and the success that he's had with the softball program. This athletic program, of course, obviously winning Directors Cup 3 of the last 4 years, and then
Yep.
going on and um, just a lot of winning is happening on the 40 acres right now. And you have your biggest of the big three, probably the most storied program on the campus, if you think
Right.
about it,
Yeah.
struggling the way they are. Listen. I get they made the college. I get David Pierce made the College World Series 3 of the last 7 years. That's great. It's about winning national titles, and yes, that
Right.
is the. After 9 years, you would think you have at least one.
Okay. I mean,
So
okay, let
let's
me ask you
dive
this.
into that real quick. Go for it.
Before we dive into that, do you think that David Pierce's tenure at Texas was successful? Because even though we've had a rough year, I do believe it was somewhat successful. Not too many teams are just making it to the College World Series, um, as many times as Texas has within his tenure.
Yeah,
And he's got us some big recruits. It, like it's nothing. It's nothing to turn your nose up at. And again, I understand, based on what's going on around you, and you even got we didn't even talk about what's going on in track and field. We've got guys that are, making it to the Olympic trials as we speak.
right.
Um, so I get kind of where the pressure's coming from, but to say like I understand like we moved on from him, but it wasn't not a success. I think David Pierce will land on his feet for sure. I don't know if
Yeah,
he'll get another Power Five job, but I definitely feel like he'll land
he's
on
getting
his
a
feet.
job somewhere. He was
Yeah,
very good at Tulane, right? And
yeah,
Tulane is not to make the jump from Tulane to Texas is pretty huge, right?
yeah, for
And
sure. Yeah.
I think the other, I think you answer this in two different ways, right? Number one, David Pierce wasn't the number one choice when Texas was hiring the last time around.
Yeah, that's fair.
There are a couple other guys that they just missed on. Schloss was actually one of the guys that they wanted to hit because CDC has that relationship with him. He was
Right.
at TCU at the time, and he was adamant about not leaving TCU. Of course, a couple of years later go by, he says, "Hey, I'm not leaving TCU," and then dips for A&M. So this isn't the
Right.
first time he's done something like this. So that's number
Right.
one. Number two, I think it defines. I think it depends on how you define success, right? And when you got to look at it two different ways. Uh, how does you define success as a program in Texas, as successful as it's been over the years, right? 30 some odd trips to the College World Series, 6 national titles, a lot of conference championships there in between.
Right.
The second thing is, how do you define success under David Pierce? And you have to take under the caveat, CDC didn't hire David Pierce. He's
No,
not. He is not CDC's
he's
guy.
not a CDC. Yeah, he's not a CDC guy.
Right? And
yeah, that's fair.
You got to take that into account too. So it's almost like he was on a short leash already.
Right.
And CDC, again, basketball program, the women's basketball programs turned around. The men's basketball program started to turn around, and the whole debacle happened. And you think you might have something with Rodney Terry. You don't really know.
Yeah. Still trying to figure that one out.
Yeah, you're still trying to figure that one out. But Rodney Terry is 5-2 in the NCAA tournament. Right? And I think
that's hard to argue against.
Huh?
That's hard to argue against.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, I think if Rodney Terry struggles this first year in the SEC, especially if it looks like he's going to get the guy from Kansas State, their second best player who's on the portal who visited yesterday.
Right.
This Texas basketball team is going to be very good. I think another thing that's the downfall of David Pierce is I think the decision for him to say, hey, I'm going to be the pitching coach, and the pitching is just atrocious.
Yeah, the pitching has been an issue for quite some time, actually.
I think that's been the downfall.
Yeah.
Right? And when your offense is struggling, you don't have a defense to lie back on, you're going to struggle, right? And that's it goes back. It's not even about defense winning championships anymore. It's like defense holds you in because your offense isn't always going to be there.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
You look at A&M, their hitting they have fantastic hitters. My God, that lineup from 1 to 9 was really good. Now that they choked it off, I can admit that team was actually very good, and I'm laughing more than I'm laughing more than anything that they choked job that.
Listen, we got to give credit to Tennessee because Tennessee didn't come in there. They didn't come in BSing, especially last night. That first game kind of got away from them. But that second and third game, man, did they put on a clinic at one point in time. The way that they started out the game was kind of symbolic of how the rest of the game kind of transpired. Now, it did get tight at one point in time, but Tennessee, man, they started off hitting dingers, and then it just kind of went from there. I don't feel like there was a momentum switch from that at any point in time in that game. I felt like Tennessee could. Even though they had some moments, I still feel like Tennessee kind of had it in the bag. And I don't know, maybe it was just because I'm on TV. We were watching it on TV and we weren't there, but it didn't seem like that same energy that A&M had previously in that first game versus that third game.
Well, it seemed like there was a big Tennessee crowd. Obviously, when the GOAT comes to the stadium, you got to show up and show out. Right, you know what I'm saying? What's up, my guy Peyton, the greatest Tennessee Vol of all time. The only guy of Tennessee that I will ever support in the history of their program. So Peyton Manning was in the house, and I read that it was majority Tennessee crowd. Like they're a guy. Tex Eggs has been like the biggest piece of comedy I've had for the last 24 hours. Yeah. And there are people like. Man, those guys go off, man. They were cussing each other. Like, they were talking about, hey, if you're going to cry about this team, you should have been at the game. Like, there was like 60 or 70% Vols fans at the final.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
And
well,
so,
that again, from a TV watching perspective, it did not seem that A&M was in there at all.
Oh, no. It really was a heavy Tennessee crowd. It did look like a heavy Tennessee crowd.
Shout out to I seen a sprinkle of Longhorn fans in there, and that was hilarious. I absolutely thought that was hilarious because they was in there representing. They had their YouTube show on and everything.
They had to welcome their new coach. Look, their new coach. They had to welcome their new coach because they've known for a while. And Ashley with the laughing emojis and the hook 'em. Listen, Ashley, we are laughing just as much as you are. This is beyond how great of a hire this is, and we'll talk about the hire. We'll get more in depth into it. This is by far the best hire. You know what? No. I'm going to go a little bit deeper. Okay. This cements CDC as the greatest athletic director in Texas history.
Oh, I mean,
who is he up against? At what point have we ever had a point where the Texas program has had 3 top guys in 3 different sports?
No.
Hell, he's got 4 and 4. Like if you take
Wait.
basketball, football,
What about Rick? Because at one point in time, Texas basketball was really good. Matt
and Augie.
and Audrey.
He had Rick Mack and Augie at the same time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Because I think success, it's really going to depend on, Rodney Terry's he's a proven tournament winner. He wins tournament games. Obviously, Sark, we know what he can do. But Schlossnagel just got to a national title in baseball.
I mean, yeah,
Literally 3 outs from winning essentially 1 game from winning the whole thing, right? And A&M makes a run late. They got it up to 6-5 in that 9th inning. They had a really good 9th inning.
Yeah.
But anyway, who cares about those losers? We're here to talk about winners.
Let me ask you this one question here. Maybe you can go into a little bit more detail because you're more tapped in than I am. What does this do for that? What does this do for the program, and what does this do for the recruits? How does this affect recruiting on both ends? Because again, you got guys coming in from Texas, and then you got guys coming in at A&M. So, how do you feel like this is going to? How is that going to affect us?
Texas right now, I believe, according to D1 Baseball, has the number 2 recruiting class. That is supposed to shoot up the ladder. And
number
also,
2?
they actually have the number 2 recruiting class according to D1 Baseball, which is the
Number
top. Didn't care to look. Let me pull it up real quick. I just saw it in a glimpse. D1 Baseball. I'll pull it up real quick. So there is actually a football recruit that is also a baseball player that is tied to A&M. That might fit to Texas now.
Okay.
So this not only impacts baseball recruiting, it impacts football recruiting. Does the name Jonah Williams sound familiar to you?
Is he the 4-star baseball recruit?
Yes, sir. No, he's the 4-star football recruit by Texas.
Okay.
I think he played safety or corner. And he was leaning heavily A&M because he also wanted to go somewhere and play baseball.
Oh wow!
And now and he wanted to play for Schloss. So this could not only improve, this could also help our 2024 football recruiting or 2025 football recruiting class. I'm pulling it up right now. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I understand baseball recruiting because I literally have no idea. But I do know Jonah Williams has been linked to A&M as a baseball program because of Schloss. And obviously been able to accomplish on the field. But Jonah Williams on the football front is I believe he's a linebacker.
Which we could use help at linebacker. That guy's got to be huge. I do remember hearing about Jonah Williams, though. We talked about him.
No, we did talk about him. Why am I drawing a blank on who he played? Okay, hold on a second. Oh my God! Now I sound like a big idiot. Yeah, linebacker. I knew I wasn't crazy. He's a 5-star linebacker.
5-star. Good God.
So this guy is a 5-star linebacker at a university he's from the state of Texas.
Okay.
There may be some potential. There's some potential that he might take a look at Texas. I don't know. But we'll see what happens. But that's definitely something. So from a recruiting standpoint, yes. I think the other piece is A&M got really good really fast because they used the transfer portal. And that is one thing that David Pierce did not use very well, if at all. He leaned heavily on recruiting. Schloss will use the transfer portal. So you can expect some guys to come in from the transfer portal this winter in preparation for the spring and next year. So
this is unheard of. You don't
hear anything like this.
This is not something that happens on a regular basis.
Yeah. So Jonah Williams, 5-star linebacker out of Galveston. So also a very highly touted baseball prospect. So let's get into the details of Schloss. I know you and I talked about it offline because you were just kind of getting into it.
Yeah.
Um, so this all kind of started yesterday. Obviously, Pierce gets fired. We talked briefly about that.
Right.
And then rumors just started going around that, Schloss was going to be the guy. There was also some talkings of Rotella being the guy who is the Tennessee head baseball coach, who also is connected to TCU because him and Schloss both managed at TCU together. Vitello was obviously Schloss's assistant at TCU. He goes to Tennessee. Schloss ends up going to A&M. They played each other last night, blah, 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 all the good stuff. And so the press conference last night occurs. The Texans reporter asks the question. Schloss gives the old Roy Williams, says, "Hey, how dare you ask a question like that, especially in a time like this? But we'll see you in 24 hours at another school." And then things just kind of picked up. There was rumblings of him having discussions. A lot of what I've read was this deal was probably done a couple weeks ago.
That's crazy.
But Billy Lucci, who's a guy that we've talked to a couple times, just off brand, offline here and there. He wrote an article today, and he says that this goes back as far as April. So
at what point can we get popped for tampering? Is that a realistic thing?
I don't know, and I don't think it is for coaches.
Okay.
Because you can talk to coaches, agents. You can talk about coaches without talking to the coaches directly. But I don't know. I think tampering is more related to the players.
Right.
I don't know if it's related to coaches or not. But if this goes far back as April, then that kind of explains the timeline because April is around the time the old athletic director leaves.
Right.
The new athletic director comes in, which I don't know his name right now. Totally forgot his name. I will look it up. His name is it's not Russ Bjork. It's the new guy. There we go. What's his name? Anyway, his name is Trev Alberts. There you go. I don't know if he's related to Marv Alberts, but Trev Alberts, the new athletic director, and apparently they haven't been getting along. It's been Billy Lucci basically says, hey, there's a strained relationship there. Essentially, they haven't been getting along. This goes back, and he noticed that there was something strange. Billy said that he's noticed that there's been something strange since about the end of April, beginning of May.
Right.
And that's after the Georgia series, which I think is they end up losing. And just like Schloss's attitude started to change. So,
I mean, for him to have an attitude change and it potentially or allegedly know that he's going to get, on his way out, man, he sure did put up a big. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
That team has been impressive that entire year. Now they've got
to make that kind of run with that attitude. Man, I wish I had an attitude like his because that's pretty. And I think it also goes credit to the baseball team as well.
Right.
Those guys fought, man. I'll give it to them for a whole 5 seconds. They fought, but at the end of the day, they still lost, and that's all that matters. Did you win?
They'll be the number 2 team in the nation.
I don't care. Go win a title in a major sport, then come talk to us.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a long time.
85 years.
Yeah, my grandmother is an 85 years old though.
Hey, not my problem. So, but yeah, it looks like that kind of was the final straw. So it sounds like this might have been in the works for a while. I don't really know. But then, last night happens. They meet today. They get the deal done, and here we are. So, now comes the question. Jim Schlossnagel is the new head baseball coach of the University of Texas. I did spell his name right. I had to check a couple times.
Yep, and Orange Bloods has confirmed it. That
it was originally reported by Chip Brown.
Right. But Orange Bloods has reported that it's a done deal. He did sign because at first it was just reports, but now it's a done deal. Jesus Christ, man! This is kind of reminds me of the whole Jim Harbaugh thing too. If you ask me, remember they were asking him all those questions about him possibly leaving after the national championship, and then
Yeah, it might be a little bit different. I think people knew in the gym. I think Jim Harbaugh's interesting because I think people knew.
right,
And,
well,
and just,
he's
that,
always wanted to go
that
back.
felt like, yeah, that felt like an inevitability of something that happened. I think them winning the national title is what sealed the deal for them, honestly, because
Okay,
he finally said, "Hey, I did what I wanted to do. I wanted to win a
I
national
want a
title at
national
my alma
title.
mater,
Yeah,
and I did that. I'm done.
right,
Like
right.
I owe this university nothing."
I
Um,
mean, yeah,
I
he's done a lot for him within a short period of time.
I think for Jim Harbaugh, his thing was he wanted to go win a Super Bowl and then retire. I really think that's.
Mm,
I think the moment he wins the Super Bowl, he's
he's
done.
done.
Yeah,
You think he'll go on to like being an analyst or something like that?
something like that. He'll do something, and I think that's just him. Like as far as like career accomplishments, that's probably what's next on his list.
Right.
And he's going to try to fast track that, right? He's probably. I think he got like a 5-year deal, and he's going to try to fast track it in the next 2 to 3. I can almost guarantee that's what's going to happen. So with this hiring, there's a couple of things to look at next. I don't know for this for sure, but this happened in college football. I assume it's the same. I think
Right.
A&M players get 30 days to transfer.
They
Now,
should. They should.
they
At this
should
point,
get 30 days. What makes this even more fun,
how many of them are going to come here?
well, I think there's going to be a lot that come with him. There's going to be a good amount of people that come with him. Texas is in the SEC in less than a week.
Yep.
In 6 days, Texas is in the SEC.
Absolutely.
And in the SEC, you can't change from one team to another within the conference. So does that mean that the guys that want to move, they only have 4 days to do it because we're still technically in the Big 12? Or does the 30-day rule trump the SEC to SEC rule because the 30-day rule is an NCAA? So I don't know how that works.
This is crazy
I
because it all makes sense now. They get the deal
yeah.
done right after. You got
Yep.
40, 72, 80 some hours to figure out what you're gonna do. You're either gonna stay here or you're gonna transfer. What does that
Yeah.
mean for the current Texas players too? Because there's some guys on this
I can
roster that
transfer
are
out
good.
too, right?
Right.
Yeah. Let's see what we got here. Looks. I don't know if anybody. Oh, Horns Pro. What's up, guys? What's up, my guy? Horns Forever. How you doing, man? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. We're just having a good time, laughing at Aggie. This is while we wait, while I look for this information. This is just fitting that this is the last like almost piece of business that we have in the Big 12 is taking our rivals players.
It's sticking on right before we
It's like
come to their
it's
best
like
time.
it's like the reminder we've been trying to tell them about for a long time now that Big Brother is back. It literally is.
This is
It's
the greatest sticking to them I've probably ever seen. Right
so
before leaving it from a conference to another conference that your little brother's in is like, all right. The best thing you got going right now is the baseball. All right, your baseball coach. We're gonna
I
take
want
care
that
of him.
guy. Yeah,
We want to take care of him,
I want that.
and we're gonna go ahead and take some of your players too.
Yeah. See you next year. So quick question for you, and then I'll let you take over for a little bit and discuss it.
Okay.
Which takeaway by CDC was better? Chris Beard taking CDC taking Chris Beard from Tech, or CDC taking Schlossnagel from A&M?
Oh,
Which
by
one's better?
far. It's by far Schlossnagel. Listen, the reason why is because you're in a situation where, again, you only got less than, what is today, the 25th? You got less than 5 days before you join the conference, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't even allow A&M to really just kind of sit back and say, hey, we had a great season. We got a bright future ahead of us. You go and take the most intricate piece. Oh, yeah. Oh, and possibly some of your recruits and players and coaching staff and saying, we're going to take all of that. And whoever wants to come, they can come.
I don't know. Oh, it's definitely taking Schloss from A&M. I think that's definitely better. I don't. A lot of Texas fans, and I'll probably put myself into it. I don't really consider Tech a rival.
I
I
do.
consider Tech as well, not in the same vein. Like if there were tiers of rivals, it would probably be like OU and A&M is tier one, and
Right.
Tech is like tier two.
Yeah. I still look at. See, I'm stuck on the old. Man, this is gonna sound real crazy. I'm stuck on like the Southwest Texas
The
Big Eight,
Southwest Texas, yeah,
beginning
Southwest,
of the Big 12, where
yeah,
you have the Red River rivalry, where you played Oklahoma, where you played Texas Tech, where you played Nebraska, where you ended up playing Oklahoma State, at all within that 1 month, right? Like that was
yeah,
always like a thing. So the fact that like when I think about Texas Tech, I think of that old Red October schedule where basically in a lot of those games, you were on the road. Like a lot of those games, those a lot of those games weren't played at home. You may have one or maybe two of those games throughout the year. Of course, Oklahoma being at the Cotton Bowl, that's a neutral site. So out of those four opponents, you might get one, maybe two of those games on the road. Maybe one or two of those games at home. So
yeah.
that's hard, man. And then back then you can go to Tech and it'd be like 65 at the end of October. It's not like that no more. It's 95, but it's still you know it's you still got to go on the road. And Texas Tech, they've always been live when they play Texas. I remember that old turf toe or that old turf that was like lime green. Man, that was crazy back in the day. But yeah, I still do look and think of Texas Tech as a rival. Maybe not as big a caliber as the Texas
Yeah,
A&M and in Oklahoma, but I think that they're right there. I still look at Nebraska as a rival. I still look at Arkansas as a rival. We just don't play them
there's a different
enough.
level of rivalry. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Arkansas
Now
rivalry is
Arkansas,
coming back.
Arkansas could definitely be a number one because back in the way I learned about the way I learned about
Arkansas
Arkansas,
was our biggest rival back in the day,
right? Arkansas was the
like
biggest rival back in the day.
50s,
Back in
60s. Yeah.
yeah, from the 50s to the 90s, Arkansas was a big deal.
Yep.
Of course, especially like when it was just the Big Eight and it was just an all Texas conference and then Arkansas, that was a big deal. So yeah, man, I can't wait to. The great thing about going to the SEC is we get some of these games back. Some
Yeah.
of these games
Sure.
come back.
Yep.
So I know for a fact that last time we went to Arkansas, we got the doors kicked in on us. So I'm looking forward to more rivalries, man. I'm looking forward to going to Kyle Field in November. That's gonna be that's gonna be rocking. I don't know if we should
Absolutely.
talk about this now, but we can talk about Kyle Field in a couple of days here.
You
Uh,
talking about the yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. We'll have a lot to talk about Thursday.
yeah,
I
for
don't know
sure.
if we're gonna have a guest this week, so we'll definitely make. This was a huge college football 25 um,
This is the
drop.
week. This is the
Yeah.
week.
Well, this week, and then we'll have some. We'll do we're either doing a video of some sort, or we'll do a live. We'll do our live show on it. There's definitely going to be a lot to cover with what's going on with Schlossnagel, and then obviously with college football stuff dropping. Dynasty Deep Dive is probably next week, from what I've been reading,
Mm,
and it's supposed to be double what the gameplay deep dive was. And the gameplay deep dive was like 35 pages, about 4 minutes.
right.
This is probably going to be like 10 minutes, 70 pages plus. So
I
that might
expect.
be its own. That the Dynasty mode might be its own video.
Yeah, Dynasty mode alone. I'm definitely ready to see what the rankings are like, and those rankings will come out, and we'll post that information. We'll get it up
Yep.
on TikTok, and we'll get it up on the other our other platforms as we get closer to those days. Actually, there's something dropping every day. There's a video coming out tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Yep.
Depending on how important it is, we may do something on it. If not, we'll
It's the
still keep this
presentation
going.
stuff, right? It's. I think it'll be important. It's all the presentation. It's the sights and sounds, so presentation.
Yeah,
I think that'll be very important because that's what the core basis of this game is built off of, right?
right, right.
So I think that'll definitely be very important. Um,
Well, there's one thing that Kyle feels number one at, and that's
being owned by their big brother. So, no, that's stupid list that they're number one in and a lot of toughest places to play. Please.
over LSU is kind of over LSU is crazy.
Well, that whole list was weird. Penn State wasn't in the top 5 when they were like built their entire game off of Penn State, which was strange.
Well, Penn State's only good when they do whiteouts. I don't really. The fact that the big house wasn't in there is crazy.
Oh yeah, Michigan wasn't even top 10, top 5, and they've won 22. I mean, their streak is going to end at 22, right? Because I mean, Texas is going to go in there and beat them this year. So, I mean, 22 games in a row is pretty impressive, right? So I guess they should get credit for that. But
that's a crazy statement to say.
I don't know. We're winning that
game. It is game 2. It is game 2.
We are winning that game. I hope you guys understand that. We are going to win that game.
All right.
We might win it comfortably. And the reason why I say it is because they have a new quarterback. They have forget the defense. They have a new quarterback that they're bringing in under a new coaching staff in the second game of the season. May or may not be the same playbook. We're learning a new playbook. Maybe like learning a semi-new system. I just think that's too soon. I think Michigan's going to end up being better towards the end of the year. But they've got a brutal schedule as well. So, but yeah, well, I think we definitely win that game.
Wait, hot take real quick. Do you think Michigan makes the playoffs?
Yes.
Okay. Do you still think they win the Big Ten?
No.
Okay.
You want to know who I think wins the Big Ten?
Oregon. I mean, yeah, they're loaded, dude. That shit is unfair. That shit is unfair. They make me sick.
I think Oregon's going to come in year one. I think Oregon and Texas are basically the same team. In the sense of, and it's not from like a building perspective, in the sense of they're coming off of a lot of momentum for the previous year. They're going into a new conference the next year with a very good team.
Right.
And a good team that's good enough to win that conference. Like Texas is good enough to win the SEC next year. And Oregon is good enough to win the Big Ten.
Well, we know that they could do some.
Now, I think Oregon ends up winning the Big Ten. I don't know if Texas will win the SEC, but they're definitely good enough to do it.
Right. That's fair. That's a fair
and I think the fact that it's the top 2 teams in the conference championship makes it a lot more favorable that they at least get there.
Okay.
Because they don't have to worry about like a division, right? So, yeah, that's going to be very interesting. Anyway, we'll spend more days on that. I guess from here where we go is, we'll see what happens with the transfer portal. We'll see. I've been reading that he's bringing his whole staff with him.
Yeah, that's going to be.
And if that's true, then this is even crazier.
Yeah.
Right. But this is an unprecedented move in any sports, right?
Yeah.
A coaching a national title game, the next day bolting for not just a new school, right? We've seen that before.
Yeah, we've seen that.
The school's arch rival, like the biggest rival in their school's history, is Texas.
Man, this is crazy.
CDC just tweeted out.
Oh, what did he say?
Well, he said, "Historic days are upon us, my friends, and I thought it would be most appropriate to dedicate this week's edition of the 40 Acres Insider to the epic Longhorn party taking place on campus this Sunday." By the way, the Longhorn party is Sunday. The exit to the Big 12 is Sunday. And Chris Del Conte, instead of anything he could have tweeted about, he tweeted about the party this Sunday because that's how awesome he is. So, the best athletic director, ladies and gentlemen, that is what he tweeted.
Man,
he tweeted this earlier today. Just kidding. I just got the notification for whatever reason.
Okay.
He tweeted this earlier today. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We've got the transfer portal coming up. The transfer portal is already in place for baseball. Yep. I think Aggies have 30 days. I don't know. They might have. They have 30 days. They might have 4 if that's not true. Either way, timelines are short.
Right.
Texas goes to the SEC on Monday. We'll have a show on Thursday. We'll probably talk about. We may or may not have Brad Kellner this weekend. We may or may not have. It's either Brad or Tope. I can't remember.
I think
No,
it's
we have Tope
Brad.
Madi this week. We have Tope
Oh,
Madi this week.
Tope before, yeah. SEC Media Days is around the
Yeah.
corner too.
And then we'll probably have Brad on next week. And then in between all that, we'll have mid-cycle dynasty stuff, college football stuff. And then we'll be at, SEC Media Days and College Football 25 release week before you know
Yep.
it. Time is coming really quick. Things move fast on the 20.
I mean, the next 2 to 3 weeks are going to be absolutely insane.
Yeah,
Again, we've got a slew of Longhorns that is and I don't have the name, so please forgive me, but we have a slew of Longhorns that have qualified to be in the Olympics. We'll get their information up. Like I said, this has all been happening and finalized as the days have gone by with the Olympic trials. Those I believe at the end of the week. So I can't remember. I want to say the 29th is when they end. So this Saturday.
Yeah, we were watching those the other day.
Yeah, I was watching. I've been watching in particular one girl. I don't want to butcher her name because she does not. She is an African name, so I don't want to butcher it. I want to make sure I get it right. But she's an absolute beast when it comes to shot put and other track field events. So definitely want to get her some love because she did break her world record. Also, the 4x100 meter Texas Longhorn team also shattered a record a couple of weeks ago. We'll definitely want to get them some shout outs. But there were a couple that are also going to be on the Olympic team. So definitely want to show them some love for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got those guys coming on. Also working on getting a future Longhorn on the show. Kind of finalizing those details. That'll probably be a little bit later in July. But we'll try to get him on before he starts spring camp or fall camp. So stay tuned. We've got a lot going on. We will be back on Thursday.
Yes, sir.
Hey, between now and then, Tim, where can they find you on the socials?
Again, you can find me at Tim Lane. Let's talk football. Listen, college football 25 is coming back here in full force. We've got less than 18 days before we can get ahead and play. If you happen to have the deluxe edition. And yeah, I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to kick this thing in the high gear. Got the group chat starting to pop a little bit, you know what I mean? Just a little sprinkles in there, and it's awesome. That's what I've been waiting for. So again, with more information that's coming out, it is definitely building excitement. So if you want to talk football, college football, let's do it. Hit me up, definitely on LH Fan Battle on Twitter for sure.
Yep, and you can find me at the Uncle Gandhi, also on LH Fan Battle. Follow us on YouTube. If you do follow us or subscribe, please like, comment, and subscribe as well. Share with your friends, share with your family, share with your neighbor, all the above. Between now and Thursday or now and the next time we see you, my name is Harish. This is my guy, Tim Wayne. We'll see you later. Peace.
So Gabriel.